The great alien hall was silent, filled with strange lights and towering figures. Dozens of alien warriors stood in a circle, their sharp eyes glowing in the dim light. The air smelled of burning metal and old stone. At the center stood a young human man, dressed in simple travel clothes, his heart beating faster than ever before. He had never felt so many eyes on him. The leader of the aliens, tall and fierce, with armor shining in the torchlight, stepped forward. In his voice was power, pride, and something darker. "Human," he said, his voice echoing through the chamber, "we honor you with a gift, a treasure few could ever dream of." At a signal, 2 guards pushed forward a girl. She was not human. Her skin glowed faintly under the alien lights, smooth and flawless. Her silver-white hair flowed down like rivers of moonlight, and her bright eyes shimmered with fear. She looked young, fragile, and hopeless. Her wrists carried marks from chains long removed. The hall grew louder with whispers. The alien girl's head stayed low. She did not dare to meet anyone's eyes. To her, this was routine. She had been trained for this moment, given away like a thing, a tool, a slave. The human man froze. His stomach twisted as he realized what was happening. They were giving her to him, not as a guest, not as a friend, but as a slave. The alien leader smiled coldly. "She is yours now, a loyal servant. Do with her what you please." The man's hands tightened into fists. He looked at the girl, trembling before him, her glowing eyes fixed on the ground. In that moment, something inside him screamed. This was wrong. Completely wrong. He did not reach for her. He did not thank the alien leader. Instead, he stepped back, shaking his head slowly. "I didn't come here for this," he said, his voice low but clear. The aliens stared in confusion. Some laughed. Their voices harsh. Others looked angry. To them, rejecting such a gift was an insult. The girl raised her eyes just enough to glance at him. She expected cruelty. She expected him to grab her, to order her, to claim her. That was how it always went. But instead, she saw something she had never seen before in alien or human eyes. Pity, and then kindness. He bent slightly, meeting her gaze. His words were soft, but they struck harder than any weapon. "You are free now." The girl blinked, her glowing eyes wide. She thought she had misheard him. Free? The word was strange, dangerous. No master ever said that. No gift was ever rejected. The alien leader's smile vanished. The hall shook with angry murmurs. "Do you mock us, human?" he growled. "You refuse our gift." The man's heart pounded. He knew his words could cost him his life, but he stood firm. "She is not a gift. She is a person." The girl's breath caught. Her whole body trembled as if she might collapse. No one had ever spoken about her that way. Not even in secret whispers. The aliens muttered louder. Some shouted insults. Guard stepped forward, hand on his weapon, ready to punish the human for his insult. The girl flinched, expecting blood, expecting violence. But the human didn't move back. He didn't bow. His voice grew stronger. "If you want me to accept her, then I will." He paused, looking directly at the alien leader, but not as a slave, only as a free being. The hall exploded in noise. Anger, laughter, disbelief filled the air. The alien leader's eyes burned like fire, but even he seemed shocked at the boldness of this small human. The girl stared at the human in silence, her lips parting as if to speak, but no words came. Her heart beat painfully inside her chest. Could it be true? Could she really be free? Or was this some cruel trick, another way to test her obedience? The human turned to her again, softer now, ignoring the noise around them. "No one owns you," he whispered. "Not them. Not me. You belong only to yourself." A single tear slipped from the corner of her glowing eye. She lowered her head again, but this time it was not from fear, it was from confusion, from hope. She dared not feel the alien leader raised his hand, silencing the hall. His voice was colder now, sharper than before. "You may keep her, human," he said, "but your strange words will not protect you forever." The hall's great doors opened, and the human and the girl were led out into the alien city. She walked behind him, her steps uncertain. Every breath she took was heavy with questions. Why would a human free her? Why would he defy powerful aliens for her sake? Who was this man, and what would happen next? The hall's whispers followed them, carried like poison through the alien streets. One thing was certain: his choice had already changed everything. And it was only the beginning. The streets of the alien city were alive with strange lights and whispers. Towering buildings made of dark stone rose high above, their walls covered in glowing symbols. Crowds of aliens watched as the human walked past, the silver-haired girl following closely behind. Her steps were light, but her heart was heavy, pounding with fear. She could not understand why he had spoken those words in the hall. No master had ever said such things. "You are free now." The memory of his voice echoed in her mind like a dream she dared not believe. Freedom was a dangerous word, almost forbidden. Her glowing eyes lowered to the ground as she walked. She kept her hands pressed together, trembling. She was waiting for the moment he would show his true face. Maybe this was only a trick. Maybe he wanted her to relax before reminding her of her place as a slave. That was how many masters broke their servants, by giving false hope. The human noticed her silence. He slowed his steps and glanced back at her. "You don't need to walk behind me," he said softly. "You can walk beside me." The girl froze for a second. She looked at him, unsure, her silver hair falling across her face. Walking beside a master, that was unthinkable. She shook her head quickly, lowering her eyes again. "I cannot," she whispered, her voice thin and afraid. The human sighed but didn't force her. "All right. For now," he said, and kept walking as they moved deeper into the city. Alien merchants and guards whispered louder. Some laughed, pointing at the human who had rejected the gift in public. Others muttered threats, insulted him for daring to break their customs. The girl could hear every word, and it made her more afraid. These people would never forgive him. And she was the reason. When they reached a quiet corner, the human stopped. He turned to her. "What's your name?" he asked gently. The girl's breath caught. Her name. No one asked her that. She was always called slave, property, or nothing at all. She shook her head slowly, whispering, I have no name." His heart clenched. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Then you'll have one, if you want. No one should live without a name." The girl's eyes widened slightly, but she quickly looked down again. Her fear grew. What if someone heard? What if giving her a name made things worse? She felt trapped between wanting to believe him and fearing the punishment that might come. That night, Human found shelter in a small abandoned chamber outside the city. The girl sat in the corner, hugging her knees, watching him carefully. She expected chains, commands, or cruel laughter. But he gave her none of those things. Instead, he handed her simple bread from his own pack. She stared at it, not touching. In her world, food was only given as a reward for obedience. She whispered, "What do you want me to do for this?" The human frowned, confused. "Nothing. Just eat. You need it." Her hands shook as she took the bread. She nibbled carefully, her glowing eyes watching him as if waiting for the moment he would snap, reveal it was all a lie. But he only sat near the fire, silent, thoughtful. Every moment made her more unsettled. Was this kindness real? Or was it another change she could not see? As the firelight touched her silver hair, she whispered a question she never thought she would dare ask. Why? The human looked at her. Why? Why? Why are you kind to me? Her voice broke as she asked it. You could treat me as they do. Why not? He stared into the fire for a long time before answering. His voice was calm but firm, because no one deserves chains. Not you, not anyone. Kindness costs nothing. Cruelty costs a soul. Her chest tightened painfully at his words. She had never heard such a thing. For the first time, she felt her fear mixing with something else, something fragile and dangerous. Hope. But even as that small spark grew inside her, she remembered the whispers of the aliens, the anger in their eyes. They would not allow this kindness to last. Her fear returned stronger than before. She pressed her hands to her chest and whispered to herself, "He doesn't understand. They will destroy him, and it will be my fault." The night grew colder, but the fire kept them warm. She lay down, pretending to sleep while her mind raced. Every word he said echoed in her heart, every action confusing her more. She wanted to believe him, but her whole life had taught her not to trust. As the fire burned low, the girl's eyes stayed open. In the quiet night, she thought of one question she could not answer. Was this human her master, or her savior? The morning sun rose over the alien city, its light filtering through towers of black stone. Strange banners waved in the wind, glowing with patterns no human had ever seen before. The streets were busy, filled with merchants shouting, guards marching, and children with bright skin and glowing eyes running between stalls. Among them walked the human and the silver-haired girl. She kept her head down, her steps quiet, but every alien who saw them whispered. Some laughed at the sight, others scowled, disgusted. To them, he was not a hero, he was a fool. The human noticed the stares. He ignored them at first, but the girl felt every glance like a knife. She whispered, "They hate you now, because of me." He looked at her with calm eyes. "Let them hate me. That doesn't change who you are." The girl lowered her head, confused. No one had ever spoken to her like this. She wanted to believe him, but fear always pulled her back. At a market stall, the human offered to buy food. The merchant, a broad alien with sharp teeth, sneered. "You pay for a slave's food. Strange human. She should eat your scraps." The girl flinched, expecting the human to agree. That was how it always worked. But instead, he placed extra coins on the counter. "She eats the same as me," he said firmly. The merchant laughed loudly, drawing attention. "A slave eating like a master. Foolish, you dishonor our ways." Other aliens around the stall began whispering. Some mocked. Some grew angry. The girl tugged at the human's sleeve, whispering, "Please, don't, they will punish you." Looked down at her and gave a small smile. "They can try." They left the stall, but the crowd's whispers followed them like shadows. The girl carried the food, her hands shaking. For the first time, she was given food without chains, without orders. But instead of joy, fear pressed heavier on her chest. That night, they rested near a quiet river outside the city walls. The stars reflected on the water, and the girl sat beside the human, watching him silently. After a long pause, she spoke. "Why do you fight their ways? You are only one man. They will crush you." The human looked up at the sky. "Because their ways are wrong, kindness is not weakness. If no one stands against cruelty, then cruelty will rule forever." The girl's glowing eyes softened, but she shook her head. "You don't understand. I was born into chains." I was trained to obey. There is no escape, not for me. He turned to her, his voice strong. Chains only hold if you believe in them. You are more than what they told you. Her breath caught. His words felt like fire and comfort at the same time. She wanted to believe him, but fear whispered louder. The next day, rumors spread faster. In taverns, aliens mocked the human, calling him weak. In the palace halls, leaders whispered about punishing him. A human dares to insult our gift. He must be taught his place. The girl heard these whispers when fetching water. Fear gripped her heart. She rushed back to him, her voice trembling. They are planning something. You should leave. Run before it's too late. The human stood calmly, unshaken. If I run, they win. If I stay, maybe one of them will start to question their cruelty. The girl stared at him, stunned. She had lived her whole life under the rule of fear. But this human spoke as if kindness was stronger than swords. That night, as they sat by the fire, the girl finally asked the question that had been burning in her chest. Why me? Out of all the slaves, why do you care about me? The human's eyes softened, because when I saw you, I saw more than chains. I saw someone who deserves a chance at life. I can't change the whole galaxy, but I can change your world. Isn't that enough? Her lips trembled. She wanted to cry, but the tears refused to fall. No one had ever spoken to her like this. For the first time, she felt something inside her break the chains in her mind. Still, fear remained. She whispered, "What if they kill you for this?" The human leaned closer, his voice steady. "Then, at least I'll die knowing I stood for something worth more than fear." The fire crackled between them. The girl hugged her knees, staring into the flames. For the first time in her life, she wondered if freedom was possible not just for her, but for all like her. But the whispers of the city grew louder. The aliens were watching. Their patience was ending. And soon, their cruelty would test both the human's courage and the girl's fragile hope. The nights outside the alien city were colder than the girl remembered. She sat near the fire, hugging her knees, her glowing eyes fixed on the flames. The human sat a few feet away, quiet, sharpening a small blade. His calm presence was unlike anything she had ever known. No orders, no harsh voice, no chains. Yet her heart would not rest. Every breath carried the weight of fear. All her life, she had been told what to do, when to sleep, when to obey. Obedience was survival. To resist was death. But now, this strange human spoke of freedom as if it were the simplest thing in the universe. His words from the night before still echoed in her mind. Chains only hold if you believe in them. The girl shivered, not from the cold, but from confusion. She wanted to believe him, but the voice of her old masters whispered in her head, "You are nothing. You are property. You exist to serve." She glanced at the human. He was looking at the stars as if they belonged to him. A boldness rose inside her, small and trembling, but real. "Why do you not fear them?" she asked softly. He turned, meeting her eyes. "Because fear is their weapon. If I let them use it, I've already lost." She lowered her gaze again. His words struck like fire, but fire could burn as much as it could warm. "You speak as if courage is easy," she whispered. "It's not," he admitted, leaning forward. "But neither is kindness, yet both are worth fighting for." Her lips parted slightly. No master had ever explained anything. To her, no one had cared about her thoughts. For the first time, she felt her voice mattered, even if it trembled. The next day, they walked along the river. The human carried supplies while she followed, silent. A group of alien children stopped and pointed at them. "Look, the slave walks free." one of them shouted. Their laughter stung like knives. The girl froze, shame flooding her. She stepped back, lowering her head. But the human placed a hand gently on her shoulder. "Don't listen," he said. Their laughter means nothing. She wanted to believe him, but her chest ached. That night, as they rested again by the fire, she whispered, "You don't understand. Even if you say I am free, I still feel the chains. They are inside me. They do not leave." The human watched her, silent for a moment. Then he said quietly, "That is why I will remind you every day until you believe it for yourself." Her eyes widened. No one had ever promised her anything before. Promises were not for slaves. The following days passed with small changes. He let her choose her own food at the market. He asked her opinion on which path to take through the city. He spoke to her as if she were an equal. Each moment left her, unsettled yet secretly warmed, but her fear never fully left. At night, she often woke from dreams of chains and punishment. She would sit quietly, hiding her tears, afraid to show weakness. One night, the human noticed. He spoke gently, not looking directly at her. "You don't have to hide. You've carried too much alone." Her lips trembled. She wanted to tell him everything, the pain, the beatings, the years of silence, but the words stuck. Finally, she whispered, "If I believe you, if I believe I am free, what happens when they take it away again?" He looked at her, his voice steady. "Then we fight together." Her chest tightened. For the first time, someone had included her in together. Not as property, not as a tool, but as a person. Still, the voices in her head screamed, "You are weak. You are nothing." She pressed her hands to her ears, shaking. The human moved closer, speaking softly. "Listen to me. You are not nothing. You are not property. You are you." That's enough. A single tear slid down her cheek. She did not wipe it away. She let it fall, and for once it did not feel like defeat. In the days that followed, she began to test small steps. She walked beside him instead of behind. She lifted her head in the marketplace, even when whispers followed. And once, when he asked her opinion about a safe place to rest, she answered with her own thought instead of silence. Each step was small, but for her, it was rebellion. It was the breaking of invisible chains. But freedom, she realized, was not. Without cost, the aliens were watching. Their anger was growing. Rumors spread of punishment, of trials, of making an example out of the human. The girl felt the weight of it all. She feared for him more than herself now, but deep inside, for the first time in her life, she carried something else. Hope, and hope, she knew, was more dangerous than any chain. Every day, whispers of the human's defiance spread through the streets like fire. The story of the man who refused a slave, who dared to treat her as an equal, reached every ear. Some laughed at his foolishness. Others spat curses when he passed. But the leaders of the Alien Council did not laugh. To them, his actions were an insult and open wound to their pride. One night, under the cold glow of the alien moons, a messenger came. He stood tall in his black armor, his eyes sharp. "The council demands your presence," he said, his voice heavy with authority. The girl's heart dropped. Her glowing eyes widened with fear. She clutched the human's arm, whispering, "Don't go. They will hurt you." The human placed a calm hand on hers. "If I run, it will only prove them right. I won't hide." Reluctantly, she followed him to the council hall. The grand chamber was filled with alien leaders seated on high stone chairs, their faces cold and proud. Torches burned along the walls and the air felt heavy, like a storm about to break. At the center, the alien leader who had once given the girl as a gift rose to speak. His voice was sharp, cutting through the silence. Human, you insulted our traditions. You rejected our generosity. You dared to speak of freedom in a place where chains have ruled for centuries. Do you think yourself above us? The human stood, tall, his voice steady. I think no one is above another. Not you, not me, not her. He motioned gently toward the girl. Gasps filled the chamber. The girl's knees shook. She wanted to vanish into the floor. To speak of her as equal in front of the council was more than bold, was dangerous. The leader's eyes burned. She is property, a thing. You shame us with your weak words. If you cannot accept her as a slave, then you will accept punishment. The girl felt her chest tighten with terror. She pulled at his sleeve, whispering quickly, "Please. Please just bow. Pretend they'll kill you." But the human only shook his head, whispering back, "If I bow, you remain in chains forever." "I can't." The council leader raised a hand. Guards stepped forward, their weapons gleaming. Girl's heart raced. She moved without thinking, throwing herself in front of the human. "Stop," she cried, her voice breaking. "He has done nothing wrong." The chamber fell silent. Every eye turned to her. Her hands shook, her voice cracked, but she did not move away. For the first time in her life, she was not silent. The leader sneered. "Even the slave dares to speak. Look what your kindness has done, human. You corrupt her mind." The human stepped forward, gently pulling her behind him. His voice rang. "Strong in the hall, her mind is her own. You never owned it. And if you think kindness is corruption, then you are weaker than I thought." The council roared with anger. The leader slammed his staff against the floor, the sound echoing like thunder. "Enough. Guards, seize him. Let the people see what happens when one dares to break our laws." The girl's cry cut through the chaos. "No, please." She grabbed his hand, her glowing eyes full of tears. "Don't fight them. They will destroy you because of me." The human squeezed her hand gently. His eyes, calm even in the storm, met hers. "Not because of you, because of them. Remember that." The guards rushed forward. The human stood firm, refusing to kneel, refusing to show fear. The girl's heart pounded as she watched. Would they kill him here? Would his kindness end in blood? But before the guards could strike, something unexpected happened. Voices rose from the back of the hall. A few aliens, young and curious, shouted, "He speaks truth." Why do we call kindness weakness? Why do we fear freedom? The council turned, furious, but the words had already been spoken. The seed of doubt had been planted. The leader's face twisted with rage. "Take him away," he roared. The guards closed in, and the human was dragged from the chamber. The girl tried to follow, but she was pulled back by rough hands. She cried out, reaching for him, her voice breaking with despair. "You said we would fight together. Don't leave me." He turned his head as they dragged him away, his voice carrying across the hall. "We will fight. This is only the beginning." The doors slammed shut, leaving the girl trembling, her tears falling onto the cold stone floor. She had feared this day would come, and now it had. The human who gave her hope was in chains, and the whole city waited to see what punishment would follow. Yet deep inside her, something had changed forever. For the first time, she was not just afraid, she was angry. And anger, mixed with hope, was more powerful than fear. The great council hall was filled with silence, heavier than stone. The human stood in the center, his hands bound with glowing chains that hummed with alien power. Guards lined the walls, their eyes sharp and cold. At the far end, the council leader sat on a throne carved from black crystal, his voice dripping. With pride and anger, "Human," the leader began. "You came to our world as a guest. We offered you honor, and you spat in our faces. You insulted our traditions, rejected our gift, and filled our halls with weakness. Tell us, why should we let you live? The human's voice carried steady, though his arms ached against the chains. Because your way is wrong, because kindness is not weakness, and because one day even your own people will see it. A wave of murmurs passed through the chamber. Some aliens hissed with rage. Others frowned, as if his words had struck something. Deep inside them, the silver-haired girl stood at the side, forced to watch, her heart pounding. She wanted to run to him, but guards blocked her path. Her glowing eyes filled with tears. She whispered to herself, "Please, don't break." Ada. Leader rose, his voice booming. "You dare call us wrong in our own hall. You dare stand against centuries of law. You are nothing but one fragile creature. Your death will be the lesson our people need." The girl gasped, trembling. She could not stay silent any longer. She rushed forward, breaking from the guards, and fell to her knees before the throne. "Please," she cried, her voice shaking. "Spare him. He is not like the others. He gave me freedom. He gave me hope." The hall erupted with laughter and shouts. The leader sneered. "Hope! A slave speaks of hope." He turned his gaze to the crowd. "See how dangerous his words are. Even a slave believes herself free. This poison must be cut out." The girl shook, but she did not back down. Her voice cracked, but it carried. "If kindness is poison, then I would rather die poisoned than live in chains." The words stunned the hall. For the first time, true silence fell. The guards hesitated. Even the council members shifted uncomfortably. The human's eyes met hers. His chest ached with pride. She was no longer silent. She was no longer broken. The leader's face twisted with fury. "Enough, guards. Strike them both down." The guards raised their weapons, but something unexpected happened. From the back of the chamber, a young alien warrior shouted, "No." His voice was strong, defiant. "She speaks truth. The human speaks truth. Are we so afraid of kindness that we must kill it?" Another voice followed, then another. The chamber filled with divided cries, some demanding death, others calling for change. The leader slammed his staff, his voice rising above the chaos. "You dare defy me." The human stepped forward, his chains glowing, his voice clear. "This is what fear has done to you. You rule with chains because you are afraid of freedom, afraid of losing power. But power built on chains always breaks." The leader's eyes narrowed. "Then you will be the first to break." He raised his hand, and the chains around the human's arms tightened, burning with painful light. The human gritted his teeth but did not scream. The girl cried out, rushing to him, grabbing his arm. "Stop! You'll kill him." The leader sneered, "Then watch him die." But in that moment, something shifted. The guards who had once obeyed without question hesitated. Some lowered their weapons, others stepped back. The young warrior from the crowd pushed forward, standing beside the girl. "If he dies, you will prove him right. You will show us all that you fear what he says." More voices joined. The chamber shook with tension, no longer united. For the first time, cracks appeared in the council's power. The leader's rage was clear, but his control was slipping. He spat the words like venom. "Take them away. All of them. I will not be challenged." The human's chains loosened slightly as the guards wavered, torn between obedience and doubt. He met the girl's eyes, whispering through the noise. "You see? Even they begin to question. Kindness spreads faster than fear." Her tears fell, but her heart burned with strength. She clutched his arm, whispering, "Then we will fight together. No more chains." The guards finally moved, dragging them both toward the doors. The chamber echoed with chaos, anger, shouts, whispers of rebellion. The alien world was changing, one voice at a time. And in the center of it all, the human stood, tall, refusing to bow, while the girl walked beside him, no longer afraid to be seen. The council hall doors slammed behind them as the human and the silver-haired girl were dragged into the cold night. The alien city burned with whispers, rumors spreading faster than fire. Some shouted insults as they passed, others watched. Silently, their glowing eyes filled with questions they had never dared to ask before. The guards pushed them into a holding chamber of stone, locking the heavy gate. The girl sat on the floor, her chest heaving. She turned to him, her voice breaking. "They will kill you tomorrow. They want to make you an example." The human leaned against the wall, his wrists still bruised from the glowing chains. His eyes carried no fear. "Maybe they will," he said softly. "But did you hear them? Some of them questioned. Some of them stood for us. That means something has already changed." Her eyes shimmered, torn between fear and hope. She whispered, "Because of you." He shook his head, smiling faintly. "Because of us, you spoke to. You showed them courage." Her heart tightened. She remembered her own words in the council hall, words she never thought she could speak. "If kindness is poison, then I would rather die poisoned than live in chains." The memory made her shiver, but also made her stronger. Hours passed in silence. Then, near dawn, footsteps approached. The heavy gate creaked open. A young alien warrior stepped inside, the same one who had shouted in their defense. His voice was urgent but calm. "There is no time. Some of us will not let you die." The girl's breath caught. You would help us." The warrior nodded. "I do not know if I believe all your words, human. But I know I cannot keep living with chains around others. That is not strength. That is fear." He cut their bonds quickly and motioned for them to follow. The girl hesitated, her eyes wide. "If they find out, they will punish you." The warrior smiled sadly. "Maybe. But if we do nothing, then nothing ever changes." They moved through hidden tunnels beneath the city. The girl clutched the human's hand tightly, her glowing eyes darting in fear at every sound. But each step forward made her feel lighter, as if invisible chains were falling away piece by piece. When they finally emerged outside the city walls, the first light of dawn painted the sky in gold and violet. The alien jungle stretched before them, alive with glowing plants and towering trees. For the first time, the girl felt air that was not heavy with chains. She breathed deeply, as though it were her first breath. The warrior stopped. "Go far from here. They will hunt you, but others will remember what they saw. The seeds of doubt are planted. One day, this city will change." The human placed a hand on his shoulder. "Thank you. You've already started the change." Warrior bowed slightly, then disappeared back into the shadows. The girl turned to the human, her voice trembling. "What now? Where do we go?" He looked at the endless forest, the rising sun. "Forward. Always forward." He smiled at her, soft but steady. "You're free now, truly free. Where do you want to go?" Her lips parted. The question struck her harder than any chain. No one had ever asked her what she wanted, not once. In her entire life, she stared at him, then at the glowing jungle, her eyes shining with tears. Finally, she whispered, "Anywhere, as long as it is with you." He squeezed her hand gently. Together, they stepped into the forest. As they walked, the girl felt something new inside her. Not fear, not obedience, something brighter. She straightened her back, lifted her head, and let the light of the dawn touch her silver hair. She was no longer a slave, no longer property. She was a person walking beside someone who saw her not as an object, but as equal. Behind them, in the alien city, unrest continued to grow. The whispers of rebellion spread in the markets, in the taverns, even among the guards. The words of the human and the courage of the girl were repeated again and again. Kindness is not weakness. The council could try to silence it. They could punish, they could threaten, but they could not erase the spark that had already been lit in a galaxy ruled by chains. One act of kindness had broken them, and it was only the beginning.